African Human Rights Commission is set to hold talks on Friday following last week's unrest. The violence and riots have left more than 200 people dead and nearly 2,000 have been arrested. In its effort to find resolutions, the Human Rights Commission will engage with various stakeholders. For more on this, let's speak to the Commission's CEO, Tseliso Thipanyane. Ntate Thipanyane, good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday View. Well, the Human Rights Commission, like most people now, coming out of that, in the aftermath of the shock and the overwhelming nature of what transpired in our country the other week, is now looking at finding solutions for going forward. Is that the purpose of the dialogue?
Certainly. The events have really raised serious concerns about, our democracy and human rights. And we as a Human Rights Commission, with a mandate to protect human rights in this country, we do need to get involved. So the dialogue is basically one way in which we can get involved to try and get a sense as to exactly what happened and why, and what we can do together as a country to make sure this never happens again. But also address the underlying causes which also influence the violence and the unrest we saw.
Who do you intend to involve in this dialogue? Ntate Thipanyane, can you hear me? We seem to have lost.
Sorry?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I think you didn't hear my question. Who do you intend to involve in this dialogue?
Yes. The people of this country, through their various organizations and structures, as well as government and everybody else who can contribute towards a meaningful resolution of the problems.
Okay, that's a very broad kind of cross-section of the population. And we are in the level 4 lockdown restrictions. Are you going to be using a virtual platform for the dialogue when you begin it?
Yes, this will be a virtual dialogue, but we'll also have other, targeted stakeholder engagements as time goes on. So it is a national dialogue. We want the whole country to be involved because this also affected the whole country, from the economy, destruction of property, and also racial tensions between various South African communities, which also have to be addressed and repaired.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very important dialogue to have, and your role under your mandate as the Human Rights Commission is very important, as you said, in the protection, the promotion, the monitoring and assessing of human rights. The fundamental causes, according to what we saw people telling us earlier, were around issues of poverty. Do you expect this to dominate your discussions, in addition to the claims by government that there was an attempted insurrection in the country?
Well, there was definitely an attempted insurrection, but we also have to understand why did some of our people allow themselves to be used in this manner. So clearly issues of poverty, unemployment, inequality in our countries cannot be ignored. And we need to make sure that, these issues are addressed so that, when things like this happen, our people are able to respond in a different manner. This was, to some extent, a political problem around, the issue of the imprisonment of Jacob Zuma. And therefore, how then do we, as South Africans, express our different opinions in that manner instead of looting and burning properties and undermining our economy? There must be a better way of resolving our political and constitutional problems.
Yeah, some of the commentary I've seen in the last week, up to recently, is that South Africa needs an urgent, new or renewed social compact, because it's clear that the country has failed in 27 years to bring about a just society in which all individuals enjoy full rights of citizenship.
Yes, what happened in the past few days clearly highlighted some of these problems. And that's why we are saying we need to have an urgent dialogue as South Africans. We need to address some of the underlying factors. So issues of poverty and unemployment are very high. And how then do we create a better future in our country where there is respect for human rights, when people continue to go to bed without food, where people have no jobs and others do? So people then become quite, open for abuse and manipulation. But we must also make it very clear that, not all South Africans took part in this matter. And in fact, the majority of our people stood their ground and said, no, we have a social compact. It might be shaky, but we have a vision of creating a better South Africa. So we need to, double dip and make sure that we move much faster in addressing this problem.
Are you only planning to hold this dialogue on Friday, or Friday is the beginning of your dialogue process?
Friday is the beginning of the process. We also have to address the issues which we are seeing now in Phoenix and surrounding areas as well. We cannot allow a country where our people cannot live in peace and harmony, but at the same time, we cannot allow a country where people live in fear and also in terms of poverty and lack of jobs and going to bed hungry.
Yeah, and the Phoenix situation must have worried the Commission a lot, because historically my understanding is that year in and year out, you keep on getting as a Commission a lot of complaints about racism in our society.
Yes, we have been raising these things for the past 25 years, but clearly not enough has been done. But what we have seen in the past few days was quite scary. It shows, what could happen in our country if we don't address these problems. We've already lost billions of rands over the past few days. It's a major setback in our country as far as, advancing the socio-economic rights. So how are we going to provide better housing and better education if we undermine our own economy?
Ntate Thipanyane, very briefly, how would you look back at this process and judge its success?
Well, by addressing the underlying causes, but also getting South Africans to be much more committed in building a future. We cannot be naive to assume that there are no problems in our country. We have big divisions in our country. We are one of the most unequal countries in the world. We have high levels of poverty, high levels of unemployment, and we do have racial tensions in our country. We need to fix these things if we really want to achieve the vision which we want as South Africans. A peaceful and prosperous South Africa, where everybody has a space under the sun.
And I guess dialogue is a good place to start. Thank you very much, Ntate Tseliso Thipanyane, the CEO of the Human Rights Commission. They'll be beginning a series of dialogues about building a better country, new social compact, and strengthening where it needs to be strengthening, but also having a candid discussion about what has gone wrong and how can we do it and fix it going forward for the sake of the future of the country. He's, of course, from the Human Rights Commission.